Hi, welcome to a new video. My name is Smriti and I am here with a new video vlog where I will be reading 4 books. So in this video, I will be reading 4 books from India. 3 of them are translated, one is a graphic novel, and they're all a fun time. And while I read these books, I am also at like a little mini vacation because it was the Easter Good Friday long weekend. So I went away to like a place which was about a 1.5 hours to 2 hours away from Bombay, and I stayed there and it was good fun. We had some amazing food that you will see like mini snippets of, and I also read these books which you will hear me talk about them through this vlog. So I do hope that you enjoy. Have fun, I guess, while I go about this journey. I am at an Airbnb called Me Yeto, and it is absolutely beautiful. It offers a beautiful array of like delicious food as well as like a wonderful place to stay in. So I will show you around as the days go by, but also since it's Sant Reads and not Sant Travels, I will be showing you the books that I read. So hopefully I will be reading because honestly I just want to be in that pool all day and all night. But it's fine because it's also really hot, by the way. So if you hear like crows and birds going and cheeping and all of that sort of stuff, it's because I'm in nature. Okay, so like anyway, point is, I'm going to be reading 3 books. So as some of y'all might know, it is Lit with Indian Lit time, which is a time where we read translated Indian literature. So in this trip I will be reading hopefully 3 books, and these 3 books, since I am a sort of type A person, I have arranged to make it feel like it is from the places that I am from. So for example, I am from Bombay. I have lived here for a long period of time. So this is the Bombay Quartet, which is a book by Dilip Chitre and translated by Jayant Deshpande from Marathi. And it is basically a bunch of novellas about various different things. And yeah, let's see what it's about. I will tell you more about it as I read them. The next place that I am technically from is this place, which is Dogri Folk Tales, but I am from Jammu. So the people of Jammu are called Dogras or Dogris, and this is a collection of folk tales from there by a person named Shivanath. So they have taken all of these folk tales and put them sort of together from the original language of Dogri. So that is exciting. I look forward to understanding more about the place that I technically am from. And then the third book is a place where my dad grew up a lot, and I also had like some of my formative years in, which is basically Tamil Nadu. I lived in Chennai for a long period of time, and which is why I hope to read this book, which is Karukku by Bama, and it is translated by Lakshmi Holmström. And this is a book about basically Bama's life, and it's a memoir, and it was supposed to be the first Dalit memoir of its time. So yeah, I am excited to read all 3 books, but I'm going to start with this one. So let's get started, and then I will. What is wrong with that bird? Anyway, okay, I'm gonna see you in a bit, and if you want more information about this Airbnb, I'm going to link the like information down below in the description. Like, so if you like stay around here or whatever and you want to come because it's awesome so far. it is the next day, and it is about 4 in the evening, afternoon. I essentially spent the entire morning just like in the pool. So it was great fun. I don't know if I have any footage of that, but if I have any pictures or whatever, I will put it up for you to see. But anyway, I'm sitting at this beautiful like library corner situation that they have in the living room. It is very lovely, and I am going to talk to you about the first novella that I read, which is of the Bombay Quartet, which is called Sapphire. And it was weird, but in a cool way, because essentially it's telling you about this man who is obsessed with procuring a sapphire for him to like wear or to own. And he just goes on and on and on about it. And it sort of like drives him into like this weird busy, and we can see through the pages how he's sort of getting into this like obsessive sort of state. And then all the things that sort of lead up to him either procuring it, and then like what happens after, because like a sapphire is supposed to be either extremely lucky or extremely unlucky for a person. So yeah, so it was like about 80 pages, and I really enjoyed it. And then the next whatever novella I've started reading, and it's quite fun, and I'm just a few pages in, but it's already started like talking about parts of Bombay which I know and I like live close to. So like for example, it says like it's talking about like train stations, and it says, but cotton green, why cotton green? Green cotton and cotton like greenery? Who gave this place this name, and why? What for? If you look out of the window, you don't see any cotton or any green either, to say the least. And I'm like, lol, that is so true. I don't know why it's called cotton green. Like, there is no cotton, there is no grain. You don't see any of that. So, genuinely have no idea. But yeah, it's just interesting. And I'm liking that it's talking about all of these different sort of things. And yeah, I don't know. It's just I'm liking how Dilip Chitre has written these sort of books, and it is fun. So I'm going to continue reading, and then let you know my thought process. And why am I talking like this? No idea. I do this from time to time. But so I have finished the second novella in the Bombay Quartet, so I'm halfway done. But essentially, it is an interesting one. And then after reading it, I promptly went to sleep and had some very very weird dreams, because the book, the novella, essentially follows this man who has red eyes. Okay, and that's like strange and makes people sort of like scared of him. But this man with red eyes, his name is Rudiraksh, which is also the name of the novella. But he has weird thoughts and about like sex, and about like just human nature and all of that sort of stuff. And talking about human nature, he works in the sewage system, so he's like a cleaner, and he does this by choice. And he thinks that like like this is all a natural part of life, and like that when people look down at him because he smells a certain way, he's like, I smell of your shit anyway. Okay, so all facts. But I thought this book was a little strange, like this novella was a little strange, because it did include a lot of like sex and like overtly, which was interesting because it was written in the 1960s, and like for that sort of stuff to be out in the open in the 1960s is interesting. So I would have loved to see how people would have reacted to this story. But apart from that, it was interesting because he also had a lot of like anti-establishment sort of thoughts, which were also cool to read. But other than that, I thought that this was just a little rambly. It did have some interesting like ideas, but like I don't know, I was just like sort of gleaning through them and not really like reading too much into it, to be honest. Apart from that, what was cool was that it had a lot of like really interesting references to like places in Bombay which still exist. So this was written in the 1960s, as I've said, and it's mentioned a lot of like, so for example, like a theater that still exists, or like places that like still are very much here, and like their thoughts on it, etc. And yeah, it was good. It wasn't the best, but I would give it maybe like a 2.5 to 3 stars. The previous story, which was Sapphire, I'd give maybe like a 4.5. Yeah, I'd give it a 4.5 stars. I thought that was really good. 4.5 to 5, maybe. But yeah, I think 4.5 is where I am leaning for now. But for now, I think I'm going to switch paces and read another book and then get back to you, because I'm actually at the end of my like holiday. Tomorrow afternoon we shall be leaving, which is kind of sad because I don't know. I thought that I would read more, but also I'm kind of sad to leave this place because it's been really nice with some lovely food and like just general great vibes. So, yeah, that's all for now, and I will see you tomorrow morning where I will hopefully update you on the other book that I may or may not have read at that point of time. Honestly, may not, because I am sleepy. Okay, see you in a bit. Good morning. I am sitting here with my mother. Mother, come into the frame a little. Hello. She is also reading a book. I am also reading a book. And I am reading Dogri Folk Tales because, like, I started reading it last night and it's quite cute. Yes. Thank you for showing my bookmark. Anyway, so I'm reading Dogri Folk Tales and it's quite cute. Basically, we are getting a lot of these stories that must have been passed down from generation to generation about like how our. Hello? I don't know. Can you hear the birds? It's fine. It's early in the morning. It's about 7:30. So this is what they're doing. Anyway, Dogri folk tales, generation to generation. So, for example, like how did like mankind get made, and like what happened to make a certain area in the world, and all of that sort of stuff. So a lot of it does include like gods. So we're seeing like Shiva and Parvati, and we're seeing Indra, and we're seeing all of these different sort of like Indian gods. But we're also just seeing like regular princes and princesses and like brahmacharis and all of that so far. It is interesting. They're all about like a page and a half, sort of. So it's just cute and nice to read. I haven't gotten anything which is specifically about the Dogras or Dogris just yet, but maybe we will get to that soon enough. But yeah, so far so good. And my mother is looking at me strangely, and I can't turn the camera because you are far away right now. So you want to come onto the camera and say
Hello, peoples. How are you?
all right, great. We're gonna get back to reading, and then that's it. Okay. All right, hello. So I have finished reading half of this book. So that's about basically the first, like when you look at the table of contents. I read all of these stories, and they were interesting. None of them are about like the region itself, like within Jammu. But that's fine. It has been interesting. I wouldn't wholeheartedly recommend it though, because I mean, Sorry. Uh, because these are old folk tales, right, which have been passed out for like generation and generation. And obviously, that comes with a bit of misogyny and a bit of like just old time thoughts, if that makes any sense to you. So it is fun to read, and they're very, very short, but like nothing that is like truly staying with me per se. So I'm going to continue reading this maybe a bit later. And for now, maybe start reading the third book that I was supposed to read, which is this memoir by Bama, which is called Karukku. So let me start reading this and then I'll come back to you with thoughts. Guess what? I am back home. I am back in familiar spaces that hopefully you would be familiar with. What am I saying? Don't know. But what I do know is that I finished reading this book, which is Dogri Folk Tales by Shivanath. And unfortunately, this didn't give me what I wanted. So I am not going to rate this too highly. Probably give it like maybe a 2 to 2.5 stars. Would I recommend this to people? Not wholeheartedly. If you want to get into like folk tales or read like something that feels like a panchatantra or like small little snippets of like tales passed down by like generations, then sure. But what I wanted from this book was like a better understanding of the region and of the place. And I think towards the end I got only like two stories that spoke about it, and both of them were about like these peers or like just some like legends that they had of a particular place, which was cool. But like I just wish we got like a little more of that. So if you are watching this and know of like any books that talk about Jammu or like gives you a little bit of history of the state and the place, then do let me know down in the comments, because I would really love to read more of that. But for this, as I said, I think I'm gonna give this like maybe a 2 or 2.5 stars, because it didn't quite hit me in those regards, and I thought that it was just fine. So yeah, that is this book. But let's move on to the next one, which I am reading currently and trying to finish. Hello! I finished reading this book, which is the Bombay Quartet by Dilip Chitre, and overall, I quite liked it. I thought that it was interesting and definitely very differently written. I think that definite kudos to Dilip Chitre for writing some really like imaginative and different sort of writing that I don't think. I mean, I haven't read too much from the 60s and 80s, but two of the first novellas were written in the 60s, and the last two novellas were written in the 80s. And they were quite different and weird and just sort of like interesting how he like framed them, especially all the different sort of characters, and like introduced them and like kept them in Bombay itself as a city. It was cool. The last two novellas were good. I would give them like a 3.5 each. One was about a woman who went to college with these group of men, and these group of men were called her like frigid because they didn't give her like the time of day, and she meets them when they're in their 50s, and like she is invited to one of these drinking parties that they have, and then stuff happens. So that was interesting. And then the next one was this really short novella called Abraham's Notebook, which is basically about this man, Dilip Chitre, like the author itself. So both the novellas, he references himself, and in fact in the third novella he sort of like breaks the fourth wall in the writing itself and like speaks directly to the like readers, which I thought was really like interesting. But like in both of them, it's like Dilip Chitre is the main narrator and like character, and he's like taking you through like the things that are happening in this novella. But yeah, like so in the second one, we're meeting Dilip Chitre, who has lost a friend of his who apparently became like a schizophrenic, and he goes through some experiences where he's now getting the like ghost of this friend, like sort of following him around and telling him what's happening. And yeah, it was interesting. I don't want to tell you more because I do think that like perhaps you should read it. I think my favorite, of course, is going to be Sapphire, and then the last one, which is the Abraham thing. No, then is going to be the third novella, then the Abraham Notebook, and then the second novella. But yeah, I think that overall this was a great read. It did give me some like references to the city that I live in, especially the last two as well, and was generally a good, interesting read. I would love to read more from Dilip Chitre because I think that he's a very like innovative sort of writer, and I would like to see what he has in store. I know that he is a poet, and poetry is not really my thing, so I don't know what else of his I would read, but like, let's see. But yeah, I think this was a bit of a win. It wasn't like a wholehearted win. I think overall, I would give this collection a 3.5 star if I have to like average everything out. And I wouldn't wholeheartedly recommend it, but I would recommend it if you want to check out some weird, interesting sort of writing from the Marathi language. And yeah, that's that. Other than that, I am sleepy as shit. So I am going to go to sleep, and then come back to you tomorrow with me reading Karukku, and then wrap up this vlog for you to consume. All right then. So after the biryani eating, I decided that I wanted to eat an entire cake to myself. So this is a really small cake that I have bought, and I am going to eat all of it, if not most of it. I think most of it, but like I have to share as well. But yeah, it's just one of those days, you know, where you just want to eat cake and eat like an entire one. But yeah, that's where I am. But where I am with this book is that I am about 3 chapters in, and it's really, really good. This book has started off just being really powerful and like a really good read. So in the first chapter itself, it just explained to you the village that she came from, and it gave you this sense of like place. And then the next 2 chapters that I've read right now are like an introduction to her as a person and gives you a sense of the person. So for example, she talks about how when she was growing up, she had this elder brother who was college educated, and he explained to her that if you don't want to be discriminated, if you want people to look at you with respect, despite you being from the lowest caste, you need to be like excelling at what you're doing, and you need to be like educated. So that's what she strove to do. She came like first in class, and she was always like performing. But even though she was performing, people were still treating her like as a lower caste person. So she was like, I want to change this. The colleges that she studied in were mostly run by like Catholic institutions. So she decided that like, hey, since these people want to do good for the downtrodden or the people who lack the most, which was basically like her people, she decided that she would become a nun too and then help these people. But then, I mean, I'm still reading, but like what she's noticed is that even though the message is that like we are supposed to help the people with the least, etc., they still look down upon the lower caste individuals. And she's like, where does that come from? I don't understand how you can claim to be people who want to like help the lower caste people or like to help people who don't have much, but still like don't like exercise that because you just have like the social conditioning, etc. So yeah, as you can see, I've gotten a lot from like 28 pages, and I am definitely really, really enjoying this. So I am going to continue reading this and also eating my cake, and then get back to you with the thoughts. Hello, I am here after finishing half the cake and then finishing this book completely. And I have to say that this book was excellent. I would highly recommend that people read this because it gives you an insight as to how Dalits have to live and how they sort of go about their lives and how it is like really difficult for them. And it not only sheds some light onto like just this one person's life, but also in terms of like how a community can live and all the things that they sort of have to go through, not only in terms of the hard work and toil that they sort of put in, but also like how they sort of have to deal with like violence by some upper caste people who think that it's their right to do certain things and take things away from people, or even by the police, and just various different things. And not just that, it also talks about like her experience looking at the double standards of just people, and how they say that they want to help the poor but they don't really. She worked to be a nun so that she could help poor people, but instead they would just send her to like schools where she would have to teach wealthy kids, and she was like, this is not what I wanted to do, this is not my calling. So she leaves the nunnery and like decides to sort of go about her own life, and that's sort of where this part of the book ends. And of course you have like a postscript as to like what she's doing now and how she's fighting for Dalit rights and how she's an activist, etc. And yeah, I just thought that this book was angry but in the like right amount, if that makes any sense to you. Like it wasn't like overt, but like you could feel that like anger simmering through the pages, at just like the injustice that is provided to like various individuals. It makes you think, and I would definitely recommend this book. I think the only downsides of this book is that it does get a little repetitive, so the things that were said in the beginning were like spoken about again in like throughout the book, and like maybe it was like spoken about in a bit like more detail, but it did feel like a little repetitive, and I feel like I didn't think that repetition would happen in like a 144 paged book. So that was the only like sort of downside to this book. I feel like it was still written really well, and I really liked the content and everything that Bama had to say. Again, I do hope to read more from Bama, and yeah, that's basically it. Now this is where the vlog would end. However, just today I got in my mail this is Terminal 3, and this is a graphic novel that was sent to me by Penguin, and it is about a girl from Kashmir. So I was like, Jammu and Kashmir is my state, that's where I'm from. I read from Jammu, maybe I will read from Kashmir as well. And it's really short, and it is full of like just these beautiful illustrations that like I really want to like read. Like if you can just like it's just lovely. I just love the illustration style of this book. So it's basically about this girl who wants to participate in like jiu-jitsu competitions, and like I don't know, it just looks really interesting. So I think that since this is supposed to be a young adult slash middle grade book, I will read through this quickly and include this within this vlog, and then like come to you with my thoughts in the end, because like this is like a look into her drawing. She has not only written this but also like designed this, and I just think that like it's so interesting. So I am going to just quickly read this now, and then get back to you with my thoughts on this, and then that will conclude this video. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. Okay. Right, so I am done reading this book, which is Terminal 3 by Debasmita Dasgupta. And this was a really, really lovely read. It basically was like really beautiful. Like, first of all, the art style was absolutely amazing. I really, really loved it. And also the stories was really cute. So this is for a young adult slash middle grade audience. I think it's for ages of like 12 and upwards. And it talks about this girl named Kwab who is here. And Kwab means dream. And it basically like symbolizes what like this whole story is about dreaming of a better like future for yourself, or a better like life for yourself, amidst all of the chaos that is within the Kashmir region. But essentially Kwab is like studying the art of jiu-jitsu, and jiu-jitsu as well is just like a really interesting like sport to portray this in this book, because in jiu-jitsu it doesn't matter how like strong you may look, it's about how strong you are on the inside. So like it's all about like planning and like just having the right mindset, and it doesn't matter how small you are, you can still like turn the tables around, which is cool, because given everything in Kashmir, I think that's like a hopeful sort of like message. But yeah, anyway, so we see Kwab as she is in Terminal 3 in Delhi, which is the international airport, getting ready to depart for an international like competition. And she's looking back at her time that like sort of like formed her decision to like do this. And yeah, it's just interesting. Basically this book is broken up into three different parts, which is like arrival, transit, and departure, and like these three parts also form like the story narrative. And I thought that was well done. And yeah, overall I thought that this book was really nice. It was a nice, good, sweet read. It may be a little trite towards the end in terms of like the message. It may have come across a little too like preachy maybe, but I thought that it was still lovely overall and I really enjoyed it. So this was a good read in like the end as well. I don't know if that made sense, but yes, I am done with this vlog. So in this vlog you saw me read this book, which is the Bombay Quartet, which has four novellas written by Dilip, Chitre, and translated by Jayant Deshpande. This I liked quite a bit. I gave it a 3.5 star. Next, I read Dogri Folk Tales by Shivanath, which I didn't like so much. I appreciated some bits of it, but like, I don't know, I gave it a 2 star. I wouldn't wholeheartedly recommend it, but if you have any other recommendations for books within Jammu, then do let me know. Then I read Karukku by Bama, which, oh, fun fact, Bama goes to a convent in Jammu. And she talks about her time there, so that was like interesting. But yeah, this was written by Bama and translated from Tamil by Lakshmi Holmström, and I really liked it. I gave it about a 4-ish stars, maybe a little more than 4.25 if I really have to be picky. And then I read Terminal by Debasmita Dasgupta, from a story that is set in Kashmir. Debasmita is not Kashmiri herself, however, but it is a 4 star for me. I enjoyed it. I thought that it was a nice, cute, hopeful read. So yeah, those were the 4 books that I read for this video. I hope that you enjoyed. Coming up next is a short interview that I did with the proprietor of the farm stay that I stayed in. We talk about books, some of his favorite, and like just generally how he reads non-fiction, etc. And it's just generally a good time. So I do hope that you enjoyed. It's just about 10 minutes and I hope that you watch. Hello. So I thought as a quick deviation, I will sit with the proprietor of this beautiful place that we've been staying in, which is called Yeto. I will link the property in the description down below so that you too can come and be part of this amazing place. And I thought that I would talk with Gaurav here, who is an amazing like person who loves to read, but also is like a musician and a researcher and does like a bunch of other stuff. So hi Gaurav, do you want to introduce yourself to the limited audience that watches this?
Sure. Hey, hi, my name's Gaurav. I run this boutique farm stay called Me Yeto. I'm a chef here, as well as a musician, and as she mentioned, I'm a researcher in my professional capacity. And yes, it's been lovely having her over. Smithy's been wonderful to hang out with, and thank you so much for this interview.
Yeah. Amazing. So, Gaurav, I see beautiful bookshelves that you have here. So, do you have any favorite books from here that you would like to recommend, like your top three, maybe, or like three that you can think of right now?
Well, it's difficult to pick three from this collection. It's like I have 2,500 vinyl records as well, and if someone asked me to pick three, it's like it's really difficult. But my absolute favorites are the ones that I revisit every now and then, and they would be the first one would be the poetry of Pablo Neruda. I absolutely love his poetry, and one of my favorite poems of Pablo is "I'd Like for You to Be Still." So one of those books is right here. It's the poetry of Pablo Neruda, and the second book, which is by Jared Diamond. Uh, a lot of you must have read *Sapiens*, but it's good to know that the predecessor to what Yuval Noah Harari has popularized was actually written by the anthropologist Jared Diamond. He has this book called Guns, Germs, and Steel. The difference is Yuval Noah Harari's work is a lot more palatable, whereas this can be a bit heavy as far as the reader's sort of ease of digestion is. And yeah, this is my second favorite book. In fact, it reads a short history of everybody for the last 13,000 years, and you'll see the similarity, therefore, with Yuval's work. And my third book is a bit up, so I'm just going to stretch and reach out to that,
Oh.
which is this book, which is called The Art of Looking Sideways. And if you are aware of this film director called Harmony Korine, oops, if you are one of his filmmaking philosophies is his films don't have a start, a middle, and an end. And The Art of Looking Sideways is precisely that. It's a book by this publishing group called Fade On, and I have about half a dozen books by Fade On. They're an exceptionally creative publishing house with some really amazing books. I'd urge you to check their collection. And Art of Looking Sideways is one of those books that you can just, like we played book cricket as kids, you could just open any page and you could spend an hour or 2 hours just going through the material, because the book functions a lot like our minds, which is 5 minutes it's here, and then the next 5 minutes it's there, and then the next 5 minutes it's there. So the book just takes you through this labyrinth of ideas, and you could just pick one end of the noodle and end with at the other end of the noodle. So it's pretty much like that. I love this book. Yeah.
It also looks very expensive, so that's cool. But tell me one thing, like with juggling so many things, being a researcher, owning this place, and like doing all of this, plus being a musician, plus being a researcher, how do you manage then reading? How does reading come into the fray, and where do you put time for it, and how do you go about that?
Uh, that's a great question. So for me, well, to set the context, I read nonfiction. I'm not interested in stories. I am interested in amassing knowledge and things that I don't know about. So where reading fits in is I don't read to finish a book because it's nonfiction. I read for subject. I read to help me with my creative process. I read for inspiration. I read for ideas. And one of the things that helps me immensely is incremental learning. So in a nutshell, it's like saying if you're in the 10th standard, you could read your third standard book way rapidly compared to when you were in the third standard, because you already know that material. So now you're learning, you're reading increment to gain incremental knowledge. So it presumes that you've already got your fundamental information in place. And I think that has allowed me to sort of scale up, the quality of books, the quality of subjects, the range of topics that I need to cover, because everything feeds into the subject. So to explain this in a little more detail, it's like I have a 5-year-old son, and I could teach him just through one subject. Let's take food as an example, and just through one subject I can teach him, the history of food and how spices traveled, and I could teach him the geography of what grows in which regions, and I could teach him about chemistry of food, and it has a direct correlation with biology and botany, and how so the point is that if you're interested in one subject, it just makes sense to me to know all the spokes of that subject. So I don't look at history as a separate subject from geography, because everything boils down to food now in this case. And so there's everything ties into one another, and I think without that central passion for a subject, it feels like going back to school and studying. But if you're interested in a subject, an autonomous involuntary process. You just gravitate towards books because you're interested in the subject.
Correct. All right. So, just to end this interview, Gaurav, would you like to tell us more about like this farm stay and why people should visit you as well?
Yeah. So this farm stay is has been set up by me and my wife, and we live here on the premises with a 5-year-old son, two dogs, three cats, and we absolutely love hosting. This place is a labor of love. We've done the decor ourselves. We've painstakingly, as a friend says, every nail's in its place. I think that personalization, the attention to detail, is what makes us different from other farm stays, where a host is personally there, present, interacting with you during your stay. As a chef, I also love cooking. I love feeding people, and I derive that nanima joy, when I feed other people. So yeah, we love food. We do Japanese cuisine, we do Irish cuisine. I Being half Konkani or having Konkani roots, we do an authentic Konkani spread, which is with recipes passed on from 3 generations. And I think all this put together with the silence, the serenity, the nature, village life, all of this really makes it uh, inviting. Yeah.
Amazing. So I'm gonna put the links, as I said, to the homestay down in the description. So you guys should definitely come here. This is not like sponsored, though it'll be fun if it was. But yeah, that's all for now. And maybe some of you can come here yourself, because this has truly been an amazing experience and the food is amazing. So yes, that's all for now. Okay. Yuki, you wanna come into the frame?
Thank you for having me on this interview. Thank you, Smriti. That's Yuki, my 5-year-old. Say hi.
Hi to the camera.
Hi guys, my name is Yuki. So thank you for um
Coming.
coming. So I hope you had a nice time. So bye.
So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you are still here, then do leave me any animal emoji. I don't know why I'm saying that, but any animal emoji, your favorite animal, if you want. But yeah, that's it. I hope that you liked it. So like, hit the thumbs up button, because it helps me with my like performance and engagement, etc. And comment down below if you have read any of these books, or if you have any other recommendations for me, or if you want to read these books. And that's about it, I think, for this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video that is coming to you very, very soon.